All right. So just as a quick introduction here, I'm with Keith Callaway Sr, and we are going to chat a bit about his business. And we were just talking before I started recording about how he's been connecting with people, and that's the goal of this whole podcast that I'm doing. So maybe you can pick right up from there where you were, and then, or maybe actually just quickly introduce yourself, where you are, what you're doing, and then we can jump back into the networking discussion we were having.
Yeah, absolutely. As he said, Keith Callaway Sr. My son, Keith Jr., works with me in the business. That's why it's really important to distinguish that, because people on the on social media are going to know him as Keith Jr. So
Sure, yeah.
So I'd prefer they know who I am also, but
we'll get your name out there.
Yeah, we're out here in Oregon. We live about 25 miles south of Portland. So we're close to Washington State. And so
beautiful country out there.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah. No, excellent. So you said we were kind of quickly discussing networking and whatever. So I know I've seen Keith Jr.'s stuff. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, in spite of my age, I don't do many New Year's, what do you call them?
Resolutions.
Yeah, resolutions. That's the word.
Yeah.
It's a senior moment right there. I don't do many resolutions, but this year in December, last year in December, I went to a conference without Keith Jr., just something that I wanted to go do, a 2-day conference. And one of the things I realized as I came back is that in 2020, I need to get on some of the platforms, and I need to share my stuff. I need to post pictures. I need to do things to help us become more relevant. And
just promote the business and promote yourself.
And really more the culture and just who we are, because our industry in particular, construction in general, but our industry in particular, as a portion of it, paving has a terrible black eye.
Yeah.
And if we can come off halfway decent on social media, where people can verify that these are real people, they have real lives, they have families, they don't mean to get out there and be a problem on the roads and get in our all of that, and that we here at K&L, we really want to be the top of the rung, so to speak, as far as being really good people and people that care not just about our customers, but we want a reputation to get out there, that people, the people that work for us they love working here. For the most part, they do. So
yeah. So no, what conference was that you went to?
It was a brand new one called Construction Summit.
Okay, so it was all different trades then.
Yeah, well, mostly paving. There was one roofing. There's one roofing guy there, but it was mostly paving. They produced the I think Asphalt Paving magazine.
Okay.
And so, and then they do another one about asphalt products. So It's mostly paving, but
go ahead.
They want other people to be involved for sure, because it was not paving related. They had a lot of people come in and they just talked about other aspects of business in general.
Sure. So, yeah. Well, you said it was the first one though. Would you go back, or would you recommend it for listeners?
I think I'll go back. It was like drinking out of a water hose. I mean, a fire hose. It was 7 1-hour or 1.5 hour sessions in 2 days.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it was too much, but I've learned over the years to kind of tune out, to certain things, and just concentrate on the things that I think I can do something with.
I love it.
I have a lot of kids, and so we've been to family conferences and, heard a lot of things, because, man, you care about that stuff, so you want to learn what you can, right? But over the years, I learned going to some of those that I'm just not going to agree with the person that's up front.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not going to get a lot out of it, but if I can get a few things, then it's not a waste.
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
Back though, this time I think I would like my wife to go with me because she needs to get up on the speed on a lot of things that are going on out there. So I'm hoping that she'd be willing.
Yeah. So is kind of the whole family involved in the business? Maybe we can dive into that. Like, when did you start, or is it first generation with you, or does it go back further than that?
It's first generation with me. My wife's family, the year we got married, got into paving.
Okay.
And they brought it to Oregon. And
Yep.
most of them, well, almost none of them stayed in Oregon.
Okay.
Got a little taste of it. And so it was like, I think I'd like to do this. I can see that there's, what my arrogant thought was, if those guys are making it, then I can do it and get rich. That's
yeah.
ridiculous, right? But this is what I thought. I was 20 years old, and man, I was ready to take on the world, right?
Yep.
But what became apparent really fast is that I went out and did a couple of little jobs and was in over my head. So it wasn't until that was in 83 that I got married, did that. It was in late 87 that I actually started buying some equipment and doing my own thing, paving.
Yep.
I did general contracting. I did a lot of roofs and a lot of other things. One of my employees said, we're anything for $1 Industries over here.
I bet you loved hearing that.
Well, it was kind of true.
You just did whatever people sent your way.
Yeah. And I knocked on a lot of doors. Back in the day, you could kind of do that,
Yep.
And
now people shoot you.
Yeah, that's right. I think you're stealing something.
Yeah.
I knocked on a lot of doors and just talked to people, and never loved that part of it, but I
paid the bills.
Yeah, I paid the bills, and it got work, and then it just revolved into other things, and that's kind of part of it.
Yeah. So what, you said 86, 87, what made you kind of focus more into the paving and buy machinery and get started?
Well, I will take kind of a long story and just raise it really, really far down. I have 7 children. And so by the time, 1988, in 87, when I started paving, my wife was pregnant with our 4th child.
Wow.
Okay. So it was like, I've got to do something to make more per day, per hour out there than just going and working by the hour or by the square foot framing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had already seen paving, and I thought, okay, I think that per hour spent is probably going to make me the best money.
Yeah.
And since my in-laws were in the business, I borrowed a roller from them. I had a few resources that way. I mean, it was an old roller, and terrible roller, really.
Yeah.
But I borrowed it. Anyway, I had resources in that, and I had a little bit of knowledge, and so that's what I did. It's like, okay, now's the time.
Yep. Yep. No, that's so if you got married in 83, by 87, that's pretty busy there, having kids.
Yeah, by 88 is when, she was pregnant with our 4th. And so, 5 years later, here we're about to have our 4th kid. And so business is one of those things that I probably never would have chosen it, except that I was forced out the door.
You got to feed your family.
Yeah, I got to feed my family. So I quit a minimum wage job in about 3 months after I got married, and just started, knocking on doors and doing whatever I could do. Right.
Yeah.
Then I just had to go to work. I just literally had to go to work. Had no choice.
It's a classic American success story, right?
Well, I look back and say that now, things are a little easier. Like, my crew's still working, and I'm sitting here with you. So
there you go.
Yeah, there is that piece of it, right?
Yep. Yep. No, that's awesome. So talk to me how that went. Was it like you started up and then things were all hunky-dory, or was it pretty grind? Like, was it a grind for a few years?
It was a grind for most of the. So, I mean, do the math. We've been in business over 30 years. We've been paving over 30 years.
Yep.
33 years we've been paving. Okay, so for the first probably close to 20, well, really, let's just be honest and say at the 30 years, it's been a grind.
Yeah.
So the recession that we had in in 08, 09, 10. That was my fourth one.
Okay. Wow.
So you think about just having to go to work. I couldn't take risk. It's not like I could risk what I had to buy a piece of equipment, a piece of property, a couple of fancy dump trucks. I had no way I could risk. I literally had to bring home dollars every day, or at least every other day. I had to be sure they were coming in, and so I couldn't risk.
This was in 08 or in every single one of those?
Pretty much pretty much all the way through.
Yeah.
So either I was in a recession time, or it was because the kids needed something, or I couldn't risk not having a place for them to live. Couldn't risk paying the electric bill. I had to have food, right?
Yeah.
So the crumb snatchers, they got to eat.
I like that.
So it was a grind, literally, until about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And we came out of a horrible time. The recession had been several years back, but there was something going on in our family that literally, it took me down. I could barely function. The crew got to almost nothing, and I won't get into the details of that. But once that was over, then we started to recover and started to see what we really could do.
Just because you were able to be there as a leader and kind of focus more on growing and
yeah. And so finally we started seeing what we could accomplish in a day or in a week or even in a year. And since let's see, what are we at, 2020, so since 2015 up to 2019, we've literally doubled our business every year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing, and I never saw it coming. And so now we're scrambling, going, okay, you know what? Now we're a real medium-sized business in our market, and we don't have the processes in place to handle all that. It was just in a ledger, it was one bank account, and we were trying to figure it out, and boy, all of a sudden in the last year or so, it's not that way anymore. We've got to.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah, it's a great problem, but boy, it is a problem.
Yeah, it's a bit of a learning curve to unlearn 30 years of work, right?
Yeah, but let me step back and say the thing that I've learned the most is that the part of the success story is that I am not a business guy. I'm just not. I'm relational. I build loyalty. I'm friendly. And so I just go out there and I might sell a job, and then I just become friends with the person as much as I can and hope they talk about me to their friends or whoever. And referrals, of course, every business loves referrals.
Yeah.
But I learned that early on. If I'm going to survive, I have to have referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So me being not a good businessman, I would say that's probably what I would say to your listeners. Anybody that hears this, say, right now in this pandemic time is the perfect opportunity to say, okay, you start slow, start small, but definitely start, because we've all of a sudden this thing's created a new world. And
for you, like in the last few years?
Well, the pandemic has created a new world.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so there's opportunities now that we didn't see 6 months ago. And we're in an industry and we're focused on a lot of things, but even with that, we've tailored our market to 3 or 4 different areas that we've never really hit before, because now's the time.
Yeah, can you dive into that a little bit? What opportunities you're seeing come up? Well,
we have a little niche that we started working in. We do a lot of mobile home park stuff, and a lot of this, there's some corporate mobile home park. Still paving mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
We also started a roofing and siding company.
Okay.
And it's really struggled the last few months, but we think that still is going to get some traction, and there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
And one of my other sons is working that side of it. But just in the paving industry, we've got a couple ideas brewing that we think that probably within the next year or two, that we can just capture big portions of
the market, or local market.
Yeah. And not only have we pushed from a marketing standpoint into certain areas, but now we're talking about, possibly building some products and putting together some things that we can sell.
Making it a complete package.
Yeah, we're thinking about diversifying a little bit, and unfortunately, it'll still be seasonal. That'll probably be a struggle that we'll have all along, but we're looking at it now like we have a real good time to do that. And for these people like me that had no money, well, you don't necessarily have to have it. Now, to build products, to do what we're talking about, and maybe some manufacturing, yeah, you got to have a little bit behind you.
Yeah.
But to go out right now and to knock on doors and just be able to relate with people and start a business, I haven't seen a better time, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because I know I've been talking to a lot of business owners off the podcast, just because that's what I do with my business. And it's so interesting to see the mindset. Some people are just like, oh, they pull back, they're watching Netflix or whatever, and they're scared and they're posting on Facebook all the time. And then there's the other people they're like, this is an opportunity we've never had before and may never have again, right? And they're looking to take huge action and basically take over market share that other people are losing because they're not doing anything, right?
Well, and that's our hope. We're not even our season yet, and I'm tired. We've been working long days, not out there on job sites, but me and the sales crew and the management team we have been working really hard at what is it we can do to leverage this thing.
Yeah. What is your season in Oregon?
Typically, we only take December and January off.
Yep.
And February was a little slow this year, and then in March came the coronavirus. Yeah. So we've been later starting.
Sure.
For sure this year.
What do you do in the off season? Do you have anything that you do, snow plowing or anything like that, to kind of keep busy, or do you lay most of the workforce off?
We do work year round. We just don't work here as much.
Sure.
So we typically save really well, and the culture we're trying to build right now is one where we really want to have bonuses. This last year, we were able to give the guys a bonus last year, so that they could get through those couple of months around Christmas time where we knew it was going to be slow. Yeah. And that's our goal again for this year. But, with this, maybe it won't be quite the same.
Sure.
But the idea is that we don't want them to have an off season.
Yeah.
So we do have the guys that are willing, the guys that come to me and say, hey, is there something I can do? Because I need to earn money. Yeah. And we do have a lot of work around our shop, a lot of cleanup, a lot of
getting ready for the next season.
Yeah, getting ready for the next season. If they're willing to put in the time and get dirty and greasy, then we're certainly willing to let them do it, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what is your number one way of bringing in new clients now? Obviously, you're doing more than door knocking to double every year or so.
In numbers, the thing we do the most, probably the most leads that come in, we're getting through Home Advisor.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I started with them quite a while ago, and there are things that some of your listeners are going to go, yeah, I hate that thing about them. I hate this. I hate that.
Yep.
But I have relented. I've just relaxed about the fact that, okay, there's things I don't like about them too. But when I talk about what I spend based on what we do in gross every year from them, I just say, okay, then it's worth it.
The ROI is there.
Right. I still am going to hold them accountable for bad leads. Yep. I'm not going to pay for those. If they're completely horrible, then we're on the phone saying, no, you can't do this to us.
Yeah.
And we save a few dollars doing that, but really the multiples of dollars that we bring in because we're out there in the market probably on an average of, I think throughout the year, we probably get 5 leads a day.
Wow, that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, every weekday.
Wow.
You know, in the winter it's a lot slower. Last week we had one day 15 came in.
Yep.
Last Friday, 15 leads.
Wow.
So, you know, about half of them are no good. They don't turn into anything, and we know that going in. And so we just kind of run the numbers, and the numbers for us work out. But so along with that, we do a lot of Facebook advertising.
Yep.
It's all over around here. You can't get on your Facebook in our areas and without seeing us.
I love it.
Yeah. And we have done a lot of cold calling this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a meeting 4 weeks ago today, and this is one of the prongs of what we told our sales guys, is that for the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe the next month or two, our expectation is that every day that you're not out doing bids, that you're going to be doing some cold calling.
Yeah.
And we are still seeing a lot of traction. We're doing less of it because now the sun's shining, and so we have more activity in the field.
Yeah.
But cold calling has really meant a lot to us this year. I think that by the end of the year, it's going to be, if I were to guess, I'd say 20-30% of our gross, I think, come from this year's cold calls.
So how are you choosing who to call? Are you just flipping through the phone book basically, or?
No, we look for niches.
Okay.
Like I said, we do mobile home parks.
Yep.
We're really good at it. My guys are really good with tenants and really good with people.
Yep.
And we're very adept at solving the problems that they have.
Yep.
And so a couple of our sales guys are really good at calling those people.
Sure.
And there's a list. Oregon puts out a list, and it's over 1,100 people that own mobile parks. Anywhere from, I think it's 4 mobile homes up to, 1,000, whatever.
Yep. Yep.
And they're all on a list. It's a state list.
Yep.
It has a list that's similar. It's not quite as comprehensive.
No, that's so they're kind of like you've kind of established this as a market that you're looking to break into. So you've kind of got a strategy to kind of warm them up. Then it's not entirely cold.
Right. So just another example. One of my guys came across a list the other day for every senior care facility in Oregon.
Okay.
And I think there's 800 senior facilities, and that's all the way from a house to ones that hold hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yep.
And all of them are still making money.
Yep.
And so their maintenance hasn't gone down.
Sure.
And so that's what we're doing today. Right now, we're looking at lists of the companies that are hiring, the Home Depots of the world, the Ace Hardwares. They're all hiring.
Yep.
And so those are the ones that in the next few weeks, we're going to try to find out who to talk to about maintaining their facilities, that kind of thing, because they're still making money.
Do you have any sort of an offer that you lead in with, or is it just you kind of see, like, because obviously these people have probably used someone else before, and maybe you don't want to share, but if you wanted to share.
Well, we don't. A couple of philosophical things we don't do on cold calling is we don't talk about money.
Okay.
We talk about problem solving and
strategy.
Yeah, and right now we talk about the pandemic and how it's affected things, and just get them talking in general. And that, of course, that's the best strategy anytime you're ultimately trying to sell something to them, is to build a little bit of rapport.
Yeah.
And so the strategy we take is not to sell, but to solve problems. And then if there's a lot of problems, we will offer what we call a site assessment. And we will go and we will take pictures, and we will ultimately, usually we will figure out the value of what we call their paving asset.
Yep.
If it was replaced today, this is what it would be worth.
Yep.
And then based on the condition of it, we basically break it down into however many years they think it will take them to have the money to replace that asset. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they don't need to replace all of it, just part of it. And so we help them break that down, and we solve the problem that they have of not knowing what to do. Okay, we're going to do this year, but what about next year?
Right. Right.
And so that's where the relationship comes in, is we get on the phone with them or email or in face-to-face with them over a 2 or 3 year period. Our goal is to be there between 5 and 10 times.
Wow. That's a great strategy to fill your pipeline too down the road.
Yes, that was our goal. A month ago today, that's exactly the words we were using, is we need more people, more customers, potential customers in our pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you could be filling it 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, potentially, couldn't you?
Up to 5. And
Okay.
the bigger facilities could be as many as 10.
Wow.
Because the people that are planning smart, they're planning out for 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
And the idea is that we find a lot of people aren't planning smart, and if we can help them plan smarter, then they're not going to go anyplace else. They're going to stay right here.
Yeah.
Even if it costs a little more, because they're not willing to shop if we've solved their problem.
Well, you've held their hand. You've positioned yourself as the expert who can solve their problems. No, that's amazing. That's a great strategy. I love that. No, that's fantastic. And also a really good time to be doing it too. Like you said, it's a little bit slower, and for you guys to be investing that way, it's gonna I think you're gonna be set up well for the future.
Well, that's our hope. We have, as you can imagine, in the last month, the last 6 weeks, we've not been in the black.
Yeah.
So
no, that's fair.
We've not. We've been in the red.
Yeah.
But I have to give an example of something I personally did when we were talking a month ago today about what are we going to do. I decided that day that I would go through my contact list in my phone. And I've been doing this a long time, so there's a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
And I did that, and it took me 2 days, 4 hours each day.
Okay.
To go through my whole. I didn't call friends. I called business acquaintances.
Yeah.
And the job that my crew's out doing today, it's the most asphalt we've ever laid in a day.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And that came from me calling one of the contacts in my phone. And we just talked. The guy's apparently he's got Parkinson's. I could barely understand him. I literally thought he was on pain pills or something. But he's Parkinson's. He was glad to hear from me, but I couldn't understand him. Yeah. So I just talked to him for a minute and just let him go. His daughter found out that I called and said, "Dad, that's K&L. We know them. Let's call them back. We have this project that we need to do." And here we are about 4 weeks later, $250,000 project.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so
I just got chills.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was going to work or not. And honestly, if I were to guess, and again, I'm not a finance guy, but I'm a guesser, right? Yeah. If I were to guess, I'd say that between my contacts and my sales guys' contacts, just going through their stack of business cards from the last number of years, and through their contacts in their phone, I'm guessing that we'll do at least $500,000 or $600,000 this year, just from opening that up and talking to people.
That's such a good strategy, and I love that you brought that up because, I'm following a few people who are kind of talking about sales and stuff, and that's a strategy they're talking about. I've never talked to someone that's actually used it and done so well with it, so I love that.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's isolated to one project, but I also talked to 3 or 4 people in that same day that are like, "Oh, I'm so glad you called. Sometime in July, I'm going to have you come out and do my driveway. Yeah, I've got something I'm working on, but in July, you're the guy."
Yeah.
So, had this big one not come along, that's fine, but it would have been a whole bunch of other ones for sure.
Yeah. So that's amazing. I mean, that's, I think people will get value out of hearing that for sure. Hearing it from someone who's done it, right? Because you can hear people say, "Oh, do this all day, every day," right? But until you've really heard someone who's done it, I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I told that story the other day to a guy. I was looking for a particular type of rock at one of our rock resources for a project. And he said, I told him that story, and he said, our owners were asking us sales guys to do that. And I said, well, if you want to sell rock, you should do it.
Yeah.
Because it won't be about price.
Yeah.
It'll be about the fact that you called them just to find out how they were doing.
Yeah.
And you're going to sell more rock. I almost guarantee it. And he was like, you know what? Thanks. Thanks for the idea, right?
Yeah.
The confirmation that, I need to get back to it.
Yeah. No, but props to you for taking the action too, right? Because ideas, I mean, you can read a million books a year, right? But if you don't take action on them, then nothing's going to happen, right? But you took action, you called those people. That's a lot of calling over a couple of days, right? But
yeah, it was probably 200 dials. Not everybody answered.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's excellent. That's I'm very excited to hear that, and I think people will get a lot of value out of that. We have a few more minutes here. If you have a couple more minutes, I can.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A couple wrap up things here. What do you think? I mean, aside from everything that's going on right now, what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge for growth this year?
Biggest challenge for growth this year it'll probably be the internal processes.
Yes. Okay.
I really am pretty sure that we've got a bidding program that we use that some guy built for us, and really it's not great.
Okay.
All of the conferences and things that I've been hearing, our biggest mistake that we've done over the last several years is we don't have an effective CRM.
Okay. Yep.
And so we don't have internal reminders as to when to call people, and it's just been flying by the seat of our pants. And this driveway over here, he wanted me to call him back about seal coating, and well, if I don't remember, then I missed the opportunity.
You've left money on the table.
I left money on the table, and we have guys that are great at it. They actually love it, and I'm wasting by not doing it. We had 350 customers last year, and I can't remember. I wasn't on half of those jobs, so I don't even know them.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the CRM was my brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is flawed anyway.
Yeah.
But at least I remembered. I'd get on a certain street and go, oh, I remember this street. I'm going to go see this customer up the road here. But we're way beyond that. And so by the end of 2020, we will have needed to fix that. And
you obviously have a plan in place to do that and kind of get people on that.
We do. We're still to some degree working off of spreadsheets and Google Drives and things like this, so that when we find the CRM that we're really looking for, that we can load into it.
Absolutely. And
we've not chosen one yet, but
there's so many out there, and everybody wants to tell you that theirs is the best, right?
Of course, and I would love to have a CRM that dovetailed with my bidding program.
Yep.
And we know of somebody that's building one, and so we're kind of waiting to see if they're going to produce it.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the thing that we're going to struggle through this year.
Yep.
But hopefully a year from today, we'll be sitting here and say, okay, we finally got there. We finally arrived.
Yeah. So your advice to people would be to get a CRM as soon as possible.
Yes. One of my sons lives in Alaska, and he's done working for the union. He wanted to kill somebody last year. He just was so frustrated. And I hooked him up with a couple of things, gave him a couple of ideas of some, we're too big now just for your free HubSpot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Which I've heard from people, it's a great CRM if you do 100 jobs a year.
Yeah.
And if there's not layers to it, then great. It'll work perfect for you. But when you get into tens of thousands of customers over a 10-year period, you have to have something bigger and
something robust.
Better. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I hooked him up with that and a bidding program that aren't hooked together. And so I recommended to him, I said, don't spend a lot of money, because there are things out there that are close to free, if not free.
Yeah. But
definitely start with something.
Yeah.
And I use myself as a bad example. I said, don't do what I did.
Yeah.
Where it's in a whole stack of daytimers.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I love that. My dad still uses day timers.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
So do I.
yeah,
So do I.
he's the kind of guy that he doesn't have any phone numbers saved in his phone. He just remembers all the numbers in his head.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Not me.
So
No way.
so when I call him, he doesn't necessarily read the number when I call him. So he's like, "Hello, Paul speaking," and I'm like, "That it's me."
Yeah. Put me in your favorites, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, that's great advice though. Certainly start with something, and then you can move up as you go.
Yeah. That's a lot easier than what I've done for sure.
That's
And
awesome.
that comes from not being a good businessman. I never thought about any of this. You know, the name K&L Industries is a terrible name to find on the internet. You can find it, but you got to really look for it
Sure.
because the spaces might be in the right spot, not be in the right spot and whatever. And so, you know, we started this name in 1984.
Right.
So, well, there was no internet in 1984,
Yeah.
you know, so we are probably in a long process of maybe changing that also.
Rebranding and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I think, of course, that's dollars and effort and whatever. But,
Yeah.
you know, we just had a conversation the other day that said maybe about the 3-year mark, we will switch everything to a different name. And we've already chosen the name. I already am licensed in California
Yeah.
under that name that we would choose.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just do the whole West Coast in that name. And
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
There
No,
we
it's a
go.
process, right? There's growing pains with every phase of the business, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I would say to some young guy that just wants to go out and get after it. Well, I think it's a good idea to do it, truthfully.
Yeah.
And if you have a hard day, or if you string a bunch of hard days together, well, you know what? So what?
Yeah.
You know, it's your hard day. It doesn't belong to someone else.
Yeah.
It's your hard day. You went out and you're making it happen, and you should lament the fact that it was a hard day, but also pat yourself on the back that you were even there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
No, that's excellent. That's excellent. Well, I mean, my last question is usually what would you kind of leave with listeners? But you've left a lot of great nuggets in here, I think. But I don't know if you have a final thought before I pause the recording and we just wrap up off tape here.
Yeah, I do have one thing.
Awesome.
I, you know, all that I've said so far, you know, I've talked about, you know, culture and, you know, and nose to the grindstone kinds of things and all that. Those are all fantastic concepts, and that's the truth. The culture we built comes from inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the head of the triangle, you know. I'm at
Yep.
the head of the pyramid.
Yep.
And I'm not doing it well on the inside, if I'm not learning and moving forward. And for me, I'm a Christian guy.
Yep.
And so I've got to be making myself better, not just in business, not as a businessman, but as a person.
Yep.
I need to look how I can serve the world. I need to get closer to my God every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one thing that has struck me recently, the story I'd love to tell, one guy I would like to meet in my life, and I think I'm going to try to get on and see if I can just ask him to meet me,
Yep.
is Ed Milet.
Okay.
Okay, you probably recognize the name.
Yeah,
Ed
I've
Milet.
listened to a couple of his podcasts.
Right. He's
Yeah.
he's a Christian guy also.
Okay.
He doesn't publicize. It's not his main thing, you know, that he puts out.
Yeah.
But really good stuff. And during one of his podcasts, I heard him say that the thing that drives me is that when I die and I go to heaven, and God introduces me to the me that God wanted me to be.
Yep.
I don't want to fall so short that I don't know who that guy is.
Oh, I love that.
I want to be as close as I can be to that who I was meant to be by the guy that made me.
Yep.
By the really smart, you know, God that made me. I want to be as close to that as possible. I don't want to be a stranger to that person that he meant me to be. And as a quick aside, during that interview, somebody said, well, how close do you think you are to that, Ed? And he thought quite a while, which I thought was kind of strange. And he said, 17%.
Wow.
And I went, 17%. Wow. That's the way I feel. That's not
Yeah.
the way he should feel. That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
And so it was actually encouraging in a way, because
We're all kind of
yes,
at a point that in our own journey that people might not see, right?
that's right. I call it a quest.
Yep.
Because it's not just a journey. A journey you can do practically in your sleep, because you're just putting one foot in front of the other. But a quest, is going to be full of danger. It's going to be full of challenges. It's going to be full of emotions and good things and bad weather. And you'll take an exit off of your road you're questing on, and whoops, wrong exit. Shouldn't have done that. And you're having to get back on the right track. And so that's what I would leave people with, is life is a quest.
I love it.
And if there's problems, well, that is part of it. And some of the best things that come out of those problems are things you learn and you can move forward with. And because there's been problems in my past, I can be a really empathetic boss now.
Sure.
That I probably couldn't have been quite as easily. I wasn't. I literally wasn't. I was just driven.
Yep.
Just go get it. I have to. I got to go get it. Come with me or go home. I don't care. I'm getting it.
Yep.
But now it's not that way, because I realize I'm part of the problem.
Sure.
And if I can empathize with the guys then and be real with them and human in front of them, then it's going to be a lot better. And they're going to like being around me.
Yeah.
And they're going to, because of that, they're going to produce.
I love that. No, that's a great way to end. I really like that you ended on that note. Call it what you will, self-improvement, mindset, following God. I think it's so important wherever you lie on that, on whatever you want to call it. I think it's so important. I love that. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with me.
I'll do it.
I'll pause the recording here, and then we can just wrap up in the after and call it a day.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith.
You bet.